something that I remember business owners telling me? The answer is yes until somebody tells you no.
Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, and you are listening to the Business Talk Library. And today I have Ms. Jael on, who I came across her because I actually interviewed someone else on the show, and they talk so well about Jael, how Jael helped them start their business off. So I'm like, I have to connect with her and have her on the show. So welcome to the show, Jael.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. And that was Leslie. You did an interview with Leslie's Laundry, and they always show us some love. And I love their company. And I'm glad that she connected us. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Jael, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into Best Life Consulting.
Okay. Well, my background, I grew up in Charlotte pretty much all of my life, but I'm a fifth generation entrepreneur. So I grew up watching basically everyone in my family do business, my parents, my grandparents, from the stories that people told me, everything like that. Just grew up watching business owners. And my dad said when I was 4. So I remember this, but I didn't remember it as a business. But when I was 4, I started my first business, and it's been going ever since then. Just having different businesses that I like, things that I find, and I'm like, oh, people would like this, and I will create a brand for it. And then finally, it got to where I realized, hey, I know how to do something that a lot of people don't know how to do. I know how to create businesses for different industries. And so I decided to become a consultant, along with that I had become a mom, and I did not have as much time as I had before to help people while also running my brick and mortar. So I was like, okay, I like starting different ideas. I understand how to research companies well. I understand the full process, and I know how to duplicate it. So I just started offering that to other people once I saw, like, hey, a lot of people need this help. A lot of people don't know what to do. And here I am.
So what was that like? I mean, with just seeing, people in your family start businesses, and then at the same time, probably sure you came across people who were afraid to start a business. Like, I mean, it probably seemed like it was like foreign to you to say, like, why wouldn't you start a business?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I didn't really understand it. So I remember when I was in middle school and I used to sell candy, and kids that I went to school with would be so afraid about selling candy. Oh, you're gonna get in trouble. Oh, you can get suspended. Something's gonna happen. And I used to be like, okay, great. You be scared. I think you want to sell the candy until they tell me no. And that's something that people used to tell me throughout my whole journey in entrepreneurship. This always was something that I remember business owners telling me. The answer is yes until somebody tells you no. They used to always tell me that, and I just grew up with that mentality. And I used to be the kid, I'll sell my candy until they tell me no, and I'll say, okay, great. I get to keep all the money. I won't bring candy to school tomorrow. And I just made $2,000 before y'all told me to stop. So I'm cool with that, like um I've just always been that type and it wasn't until the older I got that I realized everybody wasn't doing this. Like, all of my friends weren't trying to have businesses when we were teenagers. All of my friends weren't trying to make bracelets. All of my friends weren't trying to get into entrepreneurship in business schools. I intentionally was trying to get into the best business school that I could, even when I was in high school trying to figure out that route. And I guess once I realized, like, hey, this is not something typical. Like, people do have that fear. People do have those insecurities, and you're out here like, hey, this is just life. Like, people are gonna tell you no. People are gonna tell you yes. Whoever tells you no, they don't want what you have, and find the people that do. And I just kept doing it. I guess when you grow up as a younger child, experiencing like that form of kind of like denial, like just not really having an insecurity around, like that no, or that I don't believe in whatever you're doing type of thing that people kind of give. I think you kind of, I don't want to say you get used to it. Like it's just like that's a part of what comes with it. And so it doesn't really bother you as much. So especially now, I love when parents come to me that have children who are entrepreneurs. I've been talking to my son like, okay, my dad told me I was 4 and your birthday's in 2 weeks. So what's up? What kind of business are you starting? What do you want to sell?
It's like, hey, I've been taking care of you long enough. You're 4 now. It's time for you to start your own business.
So what are you going to trade?
No, I think that is definitely awesome. I mean, because it definitely, I will say, being on the side of an entrepreneur and just starting my own business or just different business ventures that I've been part of and observing other entrepreneurs. Yeah, there are skill sets that you learn on this side that you do not even scratch the surface on when you're working for someone else.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So tell us a little bit about the first business that you started. I mean, when you became an adult, and that what was that business and what was it like?
So my first business was Jael Screen Printing, Embroidery, and Extraordinary Design. The worst name I could have ever possibly chosen. And that business is where I learned the strength of social media. If it had not been for Twitter, my business would have failed. But because Twitter was like this new hot thing and businesses hadn't learned how to capitalize on it yet, and I was in college and Twitter was our thing, I just learned how to sell from that. And that is how I got introduced to like social media marketing, like how to actually grow a brand on social media. I loved watching my company grow in that way because people could not understand how it's happening. Like, how are you not going out and passing out flyers? You're showing up at events. People are expecting you to be there and placing orders. How are people contacting you in what is your inbox? A DM? Then like no, what is that? People call off the phone. So it was so amazing to watch like this new form of business, trying to explain it to my parents. Like, oh my gosh, my dad was like, online sales. No, I still take cash only. Like, no way. And then he started to see it. It was wonderful. So that company I made it was a great company to start in college. On top of that, it was a screen printing company. So I'm making T-shirts. I'm making apparel for Greek organizations. I'm getting all the contracts for my university. So I'm doing homecoming games, basketball kickoff, everything you can think of. Just contracted right in. So it was a great start because it made me understand the strength of your network in the development of your business. And I think that that's also what kind of helped me get into the role where I am now, where I feel more of a mentorship role with the companies that I work for or with, because I had a professor that his background, my entrepreneurship professor, his background was in consulting. He was an entrepreneur that literally just came to corporations and consulted them on how to make their businesses better. And every time he would talk about it, I just was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. He work for all these different corporations and all they want is his business ideas, because he's not like the people who come to work every day. Like his mind doesn't operate in that understanding because he's looking at it from a completely different perspective. And when he used to tell me the things he did and the companies he worked for, and how I could see how well he could just flow with our different businesses, because there were other people in my class and they could throw out different business ideas and he just would have the answers. And I was
Wow.
like, this is dope. Like, this is dope. His mind was just so creative. And he could think through the pros and cons of any type of industry that you were talking to him about. It just was awesome. It was awesome. And he really helped me to grow my company, to get the confidence. He helped me to tone myself down a little bit because I was an entrepreneur that was solely passionate because I just being an entrepreneur. So people always ask like, do you feel like being an entrepreneur is about your passion? Like, is that what made somebody a great entrepreneur? And then that's also when I learned, I started to learn the difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner. Like, are you just running this off of your passion, or are you running this off of actual strategies and business management that's necessary to make this thing thrive? And he just really helped me get to know that side. Like, how do you hone this into a true operational business and not just your passion? Because none of my family went to college for business. These just were, they went to college. Don't get me wrong. Everyone in my family went to college, but they weren't going to become business owners. Like, I went to merge those together. And so just having that opportunity, being able to start my business in a setting where I had all of the resources to learn about them and apply them, it was so beneficial. And that's another reason why I'm like very, when it comes to making sure that people have like the resources around them, making sure that they have business centers and people that they can go to get the education, it's so important because you don't know what you don't know. Like, you have no idea that there's something you don't know about business if nobody's ever shown you or talked to you about it. Because when you're at work, they're not talking to you about how this thing runs. They don't want you to know how it runs.
I will say that is one of the things that I came across with, just being in the corporate world of, even working with companies like GE, to where I got to a certain point in my career with GE to where they were like, all right, we're going to invest a little bit more on you. You're going to take a week off and you're going to go to this training. And I'm like, okay, I've been to like corporate trainings before, but this was very different because there you actually had people like, at the time, Jack Welch, or like the CEOs who were responsible for running an entire business, where they would come in and they would teach you, this is how we think at our level. This is how you think about running. I'm like, wow, this is very different from all the other trainings. And I think it makes a huge difference because once they start exposing you to like, hey, this is how you actually run a business, not just work in it.
Yes. That's how, see, and there was a part of my life where I went to actually work in corporate America. I worked for Sherwin-Williams, and I was a store manager and a sales rep, and it was like, oh, there were pieces that I had to apply, and there was trainings, again, like you said, like the trainings that you get that teach you, like, this is how you operate a business based on how we think. And those trainings were so beneficial, so beneficial. Like, some people will say, oh, don't ever go get, a real job. Like, yes, go in there with a strategy, though, that you want them to teach you all the things you would have to pay someone to teach you. Like, get all of the information you can and take those strategies and apply it to yourself. Because you're right, they show you things that you're like, okay, hold on, wait, what? Like, this is what's going on to make all of this happen. Like, these are the things that I need to understand and look at and break down, and this is how detailed this is. And then once you start to look at, hold on, you know how to make all of this work with all of these systems. And because you have all of these systems in place, you only need to pay little old me. And I just made you millions of dollars. And all I needed to know was the systems. Well, now I know them. So if I apply them to myself, I should be able to do the same. And so I tell people all the time, like, don't sleep on your job. Don't sleep on your job. Like, if you're still there, learn everything you can. My dad used to say, be the best you can be at whatever you do. Because, and his was extreme. He used to know, I don't care if you're going to rob a bank, you better rob it your best. You better do it your best. Because if you don't, you're missing opportunities to get that knowledge. You're missing all of the components that are going to set you above everybody else who's trying to do the same thing. And especially if you work at a corporation like GE, I mean, these Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, how are you going to get to where they're at if you don't even know even half of what they're doing? Like, you have to know something in
Hmm.
order to be able, because those are still our competition
Yeah.
as business owners, even though you may not be at a level where you can compete with them now. I mean, at some point, that's the goal. You want to get the dollars that they're getting from somebody. And so if you don't know what they're doing to get those dollars, then you might as well wrap it up. Like, you have to learn something to keep you competitive, even on a surface level, with the amount of businesses that are around the world.
Hmm. And one of the things that you said, I think that stood out to me a lot was being able to develop the processes and like, because even when I talk to my wife about even in our own business, one of the things that I tell her or that we talk about is, it's like, hey, we create processes and the processes create the results in our business. Like if we don't have a process, then we're not going to be able to scale it. So it's just, and that was one of those things working for like a really big corporation taught me is making sure you have the processes in place so the different people and the resources on your team, when they're playing a role within that process is going to continue to crank out results. So, and speaking of that, like tell us a little bit about kind of Best Life Consulting, just how you started to develop your processes for how you run that business.
So when I first started, my whole thing was systems. Everything was what amount of softwares can I use to decrease the processes that I found were difficult as a business owner or added more time to my day, right? And so whenever I started to consult with my business owners, it was specifically based off the things that for me, it was like, okay, I spend too much time doing this. So I came to them with solutions of this is how you shorten your time that you're spending on certain tasks. That's where I first designed everything to do, just like what you said, to scale. Because they have to be able to have systems that they can pass on to somebody else, or they just operate on their by themselves without them, in order for them to one make more money and have more time. You can't make more money without more time unless you put something in place to replace the other. Like you can't create two of you. Every business owner thinks that like, oh, I'm gonna find this perfect person that's gonna be the secondary me. Like, no, you're not gonna create a twin you. And if you do, they're gonna just start the exact same thing that you have because they don't need you. They're not like dependent on you to make them live and breathe every day. So if you find somebody that can become exactly you and do everything you can do, they don't need you. So it's not going to work.
Mhm.
And so that was my biggest thing, like create systems that I find make the average business owner, small business owner, makes their job difficult. And that was something again that I learned in corporate America. In corporate America, they used to say you don't compete with price, you compete with value. So what makes you valuable? And whenever I started to look at just a simple example, like website developers, I'm like, I hated working with website developers because I had to have all these freaking meetings with them about stuff that I don't even know what I'm talking about, and only they know. So if I don't articulate it correctly, my website's trash. If I do articulate it correctly and it comes out beautiful, we probably had to have like $5,000 worth of meetings by then. And then after that, they give me the website. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do when I want to make changes. I don't know what to do when a customer complains. Like, I don't know how to operate this thing. And so then I have to constantly call you, call you, call you. Well, if you're a good website developer, you're booked up. And you don't even have time to get to my issues. And so I say, okay, love my website developers, don't necessarily want to put them out of business, but here goes the easier system that's going to allow you to get the things that you need quickly for a lower price while also allowing you to make changes once I'm gone. And it's easy for you to understand, right? So that's when everything that I do has been like, okay, let me put in a system that makes this faster for you. Let me offer you software that's going to help you be more efficient at what you do. Because if not, again, you're wasting time, and time is wasting you money. And everything that I do is to come in and help your business make more money. And
Mhm.
even when it comes to, like you said, scaling, how can you make more money if you can't hire more people to do the work? Who's going to go out and get the sales for you while you make the product? Just simple things like that.
Mhm.
And I designed my company around what I saw. Like everything that I saw small business owners were lacking and things that I needed that were hard lessons for me, I made them into coachable lessons.
Mhm. So tell us a little bit about the actual products and services that people can find with Best Life Consulting.
Okay. So right now we actually don't sell any products. We do not sell any products. Most of my clients sell products, and so I just like to refer people to them. And that ends up being beneficial for both parties because when my clients make money, I make money. So the more customers they get because I sent people their way, then the more likely they are to need more services for me to help them be able to support these customers and then capitalize off of these customers as well. But the services that we offer, we take people from beginning to end. We offer business planning classes. Excuse me. We offer business planning classes for people that haven't put anything down on paper. They're starting at the very beginning. They have no name, no logo. They don't know anything about what a target market is or who their target market is. They don't know anything about financials. We teach them about how to use the design systems, different options for developing their businesses, different resources that they have, and we break it down for each company. We also offer social media services. We offer website development services. And then aside from that, what we're really known for and what um, our greatest gift to our community has been is that there's people who just they have the money, they started these visions, and they really need somebody to come in and work it and step by step teach them how to operate a fully functional company. And so that's what we do the most of. People literally bring our team in, we come in and take over their whole brand and just create everything for them from beginning to end, teach them how to use the system. We come in and do their full operations management, have trainers come in to teach managers, to teach all of their staff to get them trained, create training programs, modules, everything like that, and get those businesses set up to where they can fully function and operate without needing to continue to hire on services. So we give them like a full business structure and operational structure.
And I think that's awesome the way that you approach it from helping people become, self-sufficient is where it's like giving them not just something to where they can hire you, and if they need some help they got to hire you again, to where they can hire you to help them develop a system that they can continue to operate. And then, hey, if they need to make tweaks to the system, yes, they can hire you back, but the goal is how do you help them become more self-sufficient in their business. And I think that's a very cool and a very, I guess it's a sign that you have a lot of integrity in what you do.
Yeah, I just don't have an interest in owning people's companies right now. Maybe you know. I'll find some companies that I'm like, oh, great, this is a great idea. I'll franchise it. But right now, my thing is like, hey, you had these visions, you had these ideas, you had these goals. Like, let's get you to accomplishing those because though my vision and my goal is to help businesses accomplish. I want them to just be able to say, hey, I'm successful. Hey, I've grown to this point, and I haven't ever had a necessity to own that. I guess I operate from a sense of abundance where it's like the things that I need from my brand and my business will be there. And as long as you have yours as well, then we'll all energetically just push off of one another and we'll all be fine. I do know that there are businesses who they just like, whoop, let me just take everything like but that goes back to signing paperwork too. I tell people like it's important to protect your brand as well. Like you don't want just a consultant that's going to come in and be like, oh yeah, you have this, you have that, great idea. Like let me take it for myself.
Mhm.
I just enjoy watching people grow. Now I may at some point. My favorite, one of my favorite shows on TV is The Prophet. I don't know if you've ever seen The Prophet, but The Prophet,
I guess I've seen the commercials. I've never seen the actual episode.
if you get a chance, you have to watch it. The Prophet is a show by Marcus Lemonis, and that is the owner of Camping World. I don't know if you're familiar with
Okay.
Camping, but that's the owner of Camping World, Good Sam's. He owns Good Sam's, and he goes in and he takes his money and he goes into businesses and financially invests and then fully consults them on everything to do. And so ultimately, I would love to say, hey, I'm not just your consultant, I'm an investor, and that'll help me get even more of my money back. So I'm like, all right, if I can, he goes in and invests a lot of money though. He might go in and say, hey, we're investing $250,000, $2 million into your company.
Okay.
And, obviously just like Shark Tank, this is the percent that I want back.
Mhm.
And that would be great to be in that position one day. It's not in my 5-year plan. Something very similar to that is, but not to be able to invest this yet. So I'm
Okay.
looking forward to that day. But right now, everything is just the actual service of helping these businesses grow.
Okay. Awesome. So where can people find you if they want to follow you, whether it's on social media or website? Where would they look?
Okay, so our website is bestlifeconsultations.com. Everything online for us is Best Life Consultations, every social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Also, our tag is the best 10 ever, THEBEST, the number 10 ever. That's because we try to give people the best bang for their $10. So literally you can pick a service from us as low as $10 to get you started with beginning your business, because I wanted to make it affordable for anybody wherever they're at. If they're like, hey, I just need a few quick questions to get me started on a week's worth of work, of things I can do within a week to grow my brand. And then once I make money from the things that I did in a week, then I want to do another group of things next week. Because for some people it can get overwhelming. Honestly, it can. It's a lot of work. And so you can you can book anything with us at bestlifeconsultations.com or visit our social media, the best 10 ever on everything. YouTube as well. Make sure y'all listen to some of our YouTube advice. We go live every Monday and Wednesday to talk about advice for businesses, and that is completely free. You can ask us questions. We do a Q&A. Anything that can be off the top of your head that you're like, hey, I need some help with this, or hey, I want to know this. We talk about it. We talk about it. And it's interesting because people are always in the comments like, man, I wanted to know that too.
So what have you found to be like, something that's like probably the most common question or misconception that people have when it comes down to business and entrepreneurship?
The most common question and misconception is that you need a lot of money. The most common question and misconception is that you need a lot of money. I tell people I have started businesses from the time I was 4 until now with absolutely nothing. And even, I think about right now, there's web development sites right now that you can go on and start a website for nothing, for $0 actually. You can do a trial for 90 days. And it's like, well, if you buckled down onto yourself and said, I'm going to get this website done in a week or in 2 weeks to perfection and just push, 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 push. Well, within 90 days, you should have the money to pay the $30 or $100 a month to manage that website. You just worked your butt off selling something that you knew people needed for 90 days. No reason you shouldn't have $100. And you just take that same work ethic and you take that money and you continue to flip it back into your business until it is fully functioning. And I think people just don't understand that concept. They think that they need a lot of money so that they can make something big happen overnight, and they want to skip the steps of actually having to work it. And there's no way to skip those steps. You have to work it. Nobody, even the richest people, even the Donald Trumps who came from money, they still had to work those businesses even once they invested it. Whether you had $1 or $10 million, you still had to do something. And I think that people have the misconception that the more money they have to start it, the less work they have to do. And that's not the case at all. Whether you start with $0 or 10 million, you still have to do the work.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So now, one of the questions that I ask everybody that comes on to the show is, what is 1 to 2 pieces of wisdom that you have learned in the process of starting and running your business? Now, you've already shared a lot with us, so maybe you only got to give us one. But what is one piece of wisdom that you picked up that you would say, hey, you know what, entrepreneurs and business owners should definitely listen to this advice?
Put everything on paper. Everything. Put everything on paper. And I know this sounds like, oh, you don't, everything. Yeah, sure, of course, everything. I mean, everything. Even if you do something with one of your best friends, put it on paper. My best friend likes to tell the story like in the McDonald's movie. The reason that the man who owns McDonald's owned McDonald's, even though it was not his company to begin with, was because the people who actually created McDonald's didn't put it on paper. They didn't put it on paper. So can you imagine being the person who didn't put your business on paper? So that's my biggest thing. Whether it's your business plan, your trademark, whether it's putting down your contractual agreements, whatever it is, especially in 2020, you have no excuse. You can do it on your phone. You can do it in a physical form. Whatever it is, put it on paper.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you find that people, when you put it on paper, that you need a lot of legal support, or is it something that people can do on their own?
It's something you can do on your own, depending on what it is. If you find, there's templates you can use now. Sometimes it's just, even when you think about trademarks, you can literally write, when you think about patents, you can write yourself a poor man's tag. There's different ways to go about legalizing something. But if you don't do it at all because you think you need a lawyer, then you're definitely not going to have any type of protection. Because sometimes the lawyer might just need the original agreement that you all made, and that's enough based on evidence that you have. Now there's certain things, of course, you need a lawyer. Like when you're trying to get trademarks and things like that, yes, you need lawyers. But no, not everything. And then that's up to you as a business owner to actually find out what you need a lawyer for. You can use legal services for inexpensive rate sometimes now. People will say, okay, well, just pay me $50 for an hour and that's only going to take me an hour to create. Well, would you rather pay the $50 for that hour, or would you rather lose McDonald's? Like, would you rather lose McDonald's? That's how you have to think about yourself and what you have. I mean, I told y'all just a little bit ago, it's about value. Like, how much do you value what you have?
I think that is definitely something that a lot of business owners, or I think just people, undervalue what they bring to the table. And I know I did an interview with a lawyer, and her and I were talking, and she was like, for her, she does a lot of work with churches and not-for-profit organizations. She was saying that was one of the biggest issues that she would see is they would have no terms and conditions about what they were doing. It was this person said this person said that, and then they ran into an issue 6 months later, and it's just like, but you guys don't have anything in writing. Like, I can't do anything with this.
Listen, hearsay is not a legal agreement at all. Never has been, never will be in a capitalist system. They've always put everything on paper in this country from the founding of this country. So if you don't understand that, then you don't understand what you're dealing with. This is how a corporation works. And so you have to put things on paper. And I'm very familiar with them not putting it in the church. My dad is a pastor. And so I grew up watching things like people want to have meetings and argue about things that happened and didn't happen. And it's like, well, what was on the paper? What do the rules? And if you don't have that, you have nothing backing you up. You have nothing backing you up. Mm-hmm. Because people seem like they're going to be legitimate with you until they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always tell people, like, even if you have a conversation with someone, if it is about a business or business transaction, I mean, at least send an email recapping, hey, this is what we talked about, this is what we agreed to. That way you have at least something to go back and reference.
Yes, something. You need something to say you put this in writing. You said this, and I have evidence that you said it. So
Mhm.
yes, I agree. Something, something.
Awesome. Well, Jael, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing the wisdom. Definitely a pleasure to have you after all the raving reviews that
Thank,
Dominique of Leslie's Laundry shared about you.
thank you. I'm glad to have been able to do the interview. It keeps me fresh, you know. Like, all right.
Well, we will definitely share, like I said, all the links and tags to your website and to all the places on social media. Because I definitely see that you're active there. Where, like I said, every Monday and Wednesday, you guys do Facebook Live.
Yes, every Monday and Wednesday we go on Facebook and Instagram and we do a live about business.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Yeah, so listeners and watchers, definitely go check her out. And what's the YouTube page name again?
The best 10 ever. Everything is the best 10 ever. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Everything is the best 10 ever. TikTok
Awesome.
is the best 10 ever.
Awesome. Well, definitely thank you for being on the show and all the best as you continue with your business and helping other business owners.
Thank you so much, Terrell.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to click the subscribe button and follow us on all social media platforms as the Business Talk Library.